All right. Okay, so
Hey,
I'm gonna
hey,
turn
what's
this
up?
around. Hi. Um, I'm still getting the use of, let's see. Is that okay? I'm trying to figure out if this is where I can kind of see.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, wait. Alrighty. Because like I can't, you can't turn it around. It has to be like in selfie mode, I think.
Uh,
Okay, I think that'll work.
you can show the other way as well, but then you wouldn't be able to see yourself.
Yeah, I can't see myself, and I want to like be like
Yeah,
looking
for
up on
sure.
the thing. Okay.
So something
Okay, so I can see everybody because I
I
might make
reckon
some
you
food
you
and
don't
stuff
you don't
on.
have a tripod? You don't with all the
Yeah,
videos that you do,
that's
but
a
for your
try.
phone? Oh, it's
It's
on
on a
the
tripod now.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
perfect. It's
Yeah.
actually pretty good sound. Are you on your earbuds?
Yep.
Perfect. It's like you've done this before.
You know what? I tap the earbuds and I have my earbuds programmed to you know, go to the next song.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah,
it called up Siri. I'm
yeah.
like, no, no, I don't want to
No,
talk to
no,
you.
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate
Yeah.
your time.
Yeah.
Good to see you. I know we talked a few weeks ago before all this started,
Yeah.
and a lot has changed since we last talked.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, like I said, I appreciate your time. And for everyone that doesn't know you, please just introduce yourself and tell us your story.
Okay.
Kind of your background and how you got to be where you are now. And then, of course, we'd love to talk about some recipes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm in the kitchen. I'm here. I am Lynette. I'm a plant-based chef and I started a company called Superfood School, and I live in LA. And I'm originally from South Carolina. Lived in New York for over a decade, then moved to Mexico, lived there for 5 years, and then moved here to start this new business because I come from the arts and entertainment industry before. And yeah, Superfood School, it is a mission to help people to get more plants on their plate no matter what their diet is. Really it's about everyone really being able to embrace the plant-based diet as best as much as possible. So
Yeah.
we do workshops and we do events, but we recently launched a product called the Superfood Cooking Kit, which comes to your house with superfoods and spices and helps you to get it tasty and get it going.
Awesome. So, well, we can go more into the details of that a little bit later, but take us back to like growing up in South Carolina. Like, what was that like?
So that was really interesting because I only spent like maybe 4 months out of the year there, and then the rest was in Chicago. So it was a big
Okay.
dichotomy between a town of 400 people. My mother, yeah, my mother's family's from there. So for the first
Okay.
like few years of my life, I was there, and then my dad's from Chicago. So it was,
Okay.
always back and forth. And they met. He was in the military down there. So
Okay. Fort
yeah,
Benning? Oh, no, no, no. What's the one in South Carolina?
Shaw.
Shaw. Okay. Okay.
hmm Shaw Air Force
Nice.
Base.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
so that happened, and yeah, just living between this like super small town and between like one of the biggest cities in the world, like which was really cool, like during the Jordan era where it was like so much exciting stuff going on
Yeah, for
with the
sure.
city and sports. Like every summer I wasn't there, I was in South Carolina, so
That's awesome. No,
always get bummed about that.
I'm from the Bay Area, but
Okay.
I think, a lot of people were rooting for the Bulls in the 90s, of course, with Jordan and
Yeah,
Pippen,
yeah,
that
yeah,
era.
yeah,
We were pretty bad in that time. But
yeah, yeah,
it was pretty cool to watch what was going on. Definitely exciting in the 90s if you were a Bulls fan, for
yeah, for
sure.
sure.
And then how did you wind up and tell us more about how you wound up in Mexico and that whole experience.
Well, after the last recession, I kind of started to think about just doing something else. I mean, I just pretty much gotten out of college, and I was making decent money with photo, but it was a thing like, budgets were starting to get cut, and I was like, I don't think I really want to fight this fight. So through a series of fortunate and unfortunate events, I ended up in Mexico and ended up, spending 5 years there, and that's how I really just started to transform
In Oaxaca,
um,
right?
in Oaxaca. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So that's when I started to transform just really how my career was going to move.
That's
and see
awesome.
this
Now,
direction with food.
I mean, was food always a passion growing up, or did you just kind of find that
Yeah.
later in life?
No. It actually was. It's really interesting because started my first food business when I was 11, and it was a Rice Krispie treat business, which is pretty crazy.
That, those are making a comeback, I
Right.
hear.
Yeah, a
With the
lot of stuff.
legalization, those are making a comeback.
They are. I know I could take it to the next level. Gluten free,
Good.
gluten free.
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna working on it. It'll be the revival. But I started that by really, again, kind of the way that a lot of entrepreneurs start things, by filling a personal need, because
Yeah.
I had kind of gotten sick of the school lunch. I thought it was kind of gross, and I just kind of saw how I saw processed food like at that moment there. I was like, oh, this is so gross. So I started making lunch for myself, started making those, and this is before they were actually individually packaging and selling them. So it was just like you either made them or you didn't get them because the recipe was on the back of the box. And kids started asking for them a lot. I'm like, okay, fuck, you guys got to pay, man. So I started charging them 25 cents a piece, and before you know it, I had the teachers, ordering pans for parent teacher conferences and whatnot, and
This is
it
in
was cool.
college or high school? Or no, oh, you're talking about when you were like in
I was
11, when you
11.
started your Rice Krispie. Oh, the Rice Krispie hustle.
No,
Wow.
I was
That's awesome.
11. So that was really cool. But then, I ended up, wanting to become a doctor at one point, and then like, kind of thought
Who
about that
doesn't,
in high
right? Who does?
school.
No, I'm just
Yeah,
I'm, su-
exactly.
I'm sure you were closer than the rest, but yeah.
Yeah, I started to do that, and no, and I was like, no, I want to go to art school. So then I moved to New York, and my mom's actually from New York. That's where she grew up. So,
Oh, okay.
so we have family. Yeah, we're a lot, half from the East Coast. So
Yeah,
was hanging out
I
there.
have a friend in medical school, and I'm like, look, I work hard, but that's a whole different level. Like, God bless you for the work that you do, because there are some people that are meant to do that kind of work, and some people that aren't. And you know what I mean? Like,
It
it's a
is. It
lot of
is.
studying.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not even the
crazy.
job that's hard; it's the school. The school's harder than the job, I think, in some cases. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty serious. Yeah, my brother is in the emergency room like every day. He's an RN now, and
Oh wow.
he's 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 living in this moment for sure. So
Yeah.
he takes seeing how he is, and it's funny because he wasn't like the student, growing up
Right.
per se, and it definitely is about learning and books and stuff and in the schooling and stuff, but he has such a a sense of himself to where like he's unflappable.
Yeah.
And with that, especially in being in the trauma room, you have to be unflappable. So it's like I hear some of the things that he tells me, and then I'm thinking like, wait, I wanted to be a doctor. I'd be like, ooh.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because obviously I have no medical experience, but I've
Yeah,
just kind of grew up in a crazy environment, so things don't really faze me. I've just been around. I think I would have made, I mean, not necessarily for the medical reasons, but I thought about maybe police or fire or EMT or something like that, just because when most people freak out, like I'm just calm, just naturally. So like, some people are, some people aren't.
yeah,
And Mike Tyson has that quote, like everybody has a plan till they get punched in the mouth, and it's one of those things like you don't know what you're made of until there's crisis. And there's some people who run to crisis, and most people run away from it, right? And so we honor those that are working on the front lines right now. And food is a big part of that, right? Um, food it touches every part of who we are. It's part of religion, it's part of culture, it's part of economics, it's part of history, it's part of geography. Um, I mean,
yeah, for
it's
sure.
life pretty much. There's like water, food, air, and that's about it.
Yeah,
Sleep.
it's an
So
essential. It's essential. I'm thinking about food right now. I'm gonna
yeah,
try
for
this
sure.
thing that I have. Keep talking. I'm eating.
Yeah. No, well, so talk about New York and how obviously New York is a melting pot. Probably one of the most, if not the most diverse city in the world, as far as its influence and its flavors and its cultures. And
Yeah.
so just talk about the influence that being in New York had on you as a chef and as a person.
New York was great because for the most part, I was there working in the arts and entertainment, but to supplement that, obviously, as an artist, you're getting your stuff together.
Yeah, of
Normally, you work in restaurants. So I worked in a lot of restaurants,
course.
front of the house and back of the house. So I learned a lot of
Me too.
things just
Me
about the
too. Yep.
business and just how all of that kind of worked and where I wanted to kind of subconsciously, I was basically determining like where I would be positioned in food, which I don't want a restaurant. I mean, like if it was a part of a project. Like, I've been talking to people about restaurant projects, but like actually running the restaurant, oh, no way, no way. You have to really know. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, someone's
yeah.
got to do it. It's just not me, and
There's levels to it. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And I learned that a lot in Mexico, but New York really learning a lot about that as well. And then, yeah, just New York at that time, was very, and I mean, it still is. It's just like everyone's so kind of piled on top of each other. Like you really engage and see people and see just the most of people. Like, I'm here in LA and it's just like, okay, you might see one group a day or one kind of thing. But New York is like, we're going to Soho and then in 15 minutes, we're going to go here. It's like you could hit up like 10 things, and just do
yeah.
all this type of stuff and this energy. So I
That
still
that
definitely,
video
yeah.
you sent me is hilarious. The difference in
Oh my
quarantine
God.
between New York and LA,
Oh my
or New York
God.
and California.
Oh my God,
It's
guys,
so
wait, so
funny.
we got to tell you about this. It's so funny. It's a video. I'll post it in my stories, but it's basically the
Yeah,
differences between the different states and just how quarantine affects you, whether, where you live. In California, obviously is just it's locked down, but like we still have nature and we still have the
yeah.
sun and we still have
Right.
all of this type
It's
of good
still
stuff. And
springtime. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah, and they're doing the comparison, and the guy is in New York and he's doing yoga in his bathtub.
yeah.
So it's
Probably
it's
probably
really
paying quite
interesting.
a bit for rent as well.
He was like sitting there like cramped up.
Yeah,
Oh my God, y'all got to see it. It was really funny because I'm in
yeah. It
LA and
is.
I went to the farmer's market and my brother, he actually was home on like a Sunday. This was a couple of weeks ago. And he just watched me walk to the farmer's market, like he's like, not everybody's wearing masks. They have us like, it was like kind of this comparison. It kind of reminds me of the
Mm,
Hunger Games in a weird way, where it's just like, okay, the states now have their different kind of things,
oh
and
yeah.
everything is a little like, and he's
Oh,
like,
oh,
well,
the zones. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, all the districts, like, well, you guys are walking around like this, and they shut our farmers markets down, and I'm like,
Yeah,
whoa, I'm like, huh, interesting, very interesting, right?
yeah. It's definitely definitely been crazy for sure.
Yeah,
Um, so
see how this
so
is.
talk more about Mexico and just how, a lot of people don't realize that a good majority of the spices and desserts and vegetables and fruits in the world that are famous, that are used in so many dishes, actually originate in Mexico or Central America. A lot of people don't realize that. Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm not an expert. I don't know every single one. I just know like a lot, a lot of spices and vegetables that are maybe other countries made famous actually originate, in Mexico and Central America, which is pretty amazing. But what are some of the
Oh, wow.
techniques that you learned down there in cooking and the difference between like the different regions of Mexico and stuff like that?
Coconut.
Okay.
Coconut. I now know how to do things with coconut that you could only literally do if you lived extensively in the place where they were growing, because every fruit and vegetable has their peak period. They have their
Right.
seasons, and
Right.
with any relationship with anything, the more you have seasons with it, the more you know. And
Right.
I think when it comes to food, that was the biggest win for me, because we got like 6 coconut trees on the property, so it's just like every day it's
Good
a
morning.
different
Yeah.
type of
Yeah.
meat,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
got to the
For
point
sure.
where I had to learn how to open them myself. And the relationship with the meat is just like different stages. Like the thick coconut meat is the older one, so you don't get this much water. And then the thinner one is like the jelly part. And I do a really good sushi because I was able to figure out within each coconut, like that type of meat, to where it really looks like a piece
Yeah.
of tuna, and you marinate it and do it the right way. So I love coconut so much. What I was eating right now, it's funny that you asked. It's a coconut curry goat roti. So
Oh wow.
living in New York, I ate a lot of like Caribbean food, and the curry is like a lot of Trinidadian food and whatnot, and the curry goat roti I've been able to transform with jackfruit and just really slow cook in an Instapot for like as many hours as you can. So
That's awesome.
the jackfruit gets really I'm gonna bring it up to the screen a little bit so you
Oh,
guys
please
can
do.
see.
Yeah.
Let's see how I can do this. All right, can you guys kind of sort of see? Yeah.
Kind
Oh
of.
no,
Yeah.
it's kind of dark. Yeah, this is not good.
It's all
Okay.
good.
but you can see the texture a little bit. I'm trying to figure out what I can do here.
We believe you. It's all right. Just also put that in your story.
I'll put this in the story. I'll stir it
Yeah,
around.
yeah,
It's so
yeah,
good.
for sure. So
Mm.
talk about, obviously we talked a little bit, and you're not necessarily completely vegan, but plant-based. So talk about the difference, because some people are confused by that.
Well, plant-based, it's kind of a weird word right now, and I think it's kind of still trying to figure out what its definition is. But
Right.
I think generally speaking, people consider plant-based like you eat primarily plant-based foods.
Right.
Like for me, I don't bring meat into the house. Like I don't have any of that stuff in the house. I don't cook with it. A lot of the stuff I don't even, like, I don't really know how to cook a steak, things like that. Because I never was, really interested in it. But a lot of times where I slip in veganism, quote unquote, is when I'm traveling and when
Yeah.
I'm out in like social situations, especially like in Mexico where it's just like, okay, sin carne, ¿verdad? Sin
Yeah,
carne,
yeah,
¿verdad? Sí, sí,
yeah.
seguro, seguro, seguro. Sí, seguro, seguro. No mames.
That's exactly right. That's kind of
Okay,
like
is
on,
that?
that's perfect. That's exactly how that conversation goes. Well, it's funny because I think California has some of the best Mexican food because
Oh, of
we
course.
have, a lot of cultural foods are very far removed from their
Yeah,
source, right? So
yeah.
Vietnamese cuisine or even Indian cuisine, whereas Mexican cuisine is it's right there, right? The same people, it's not that far removed geographically or like, generationally. And then I think that in California we have higher produce and meat standards, obviously, than some
Hmm.
places, right? So I've been, had some great food in Mexico. I've had some food in Mexico that was not so great. You know what I mean? And everything in between. And like you said, you can't always trust the guy in the corner.
I don't like tasajo like that meat. It's so
Yeah.
bad.
So it's kind of like a big fat Greek wedding when she's like, oh, he's a vegetarian. He's like, what do you mean no eat meat? Okay, I make lamb. Like that's the same thing. Like, people don't quite understand that that's an option.
Yeah,
I think there
yeah,
was
for
always
sure.
maybe a few people that you might have known growing up that were vegetarian or vegan. I mean, I grew up near Santa Cruz, California, which is
Okay,
pretty much
yeah.
like right, not too far from Berkeley, like all the stereotypes of hippies and liberal California. Definitely like granola. Like all my teachers wear Birkenstocks and tie-dye shirts, and like I'm not joking. Like that's how I grew up. Um, but even still, I wasn't as mainstream. I would say really in the last 10 years, I would say the conversation about being more plant-based or maybe seeing the negative effects of animal agriculture on the environment and those kind of things. Personally, I still eat meat, but I have considered definitely, adjusting and modifying that and incorporating more plant-based. So I do like your approach because I think for a lot of people, the thought of going cold turkey would be too drastic, but maybe, like you said, incorporating more plants. So my friend Ray, she's just joined. She also has, I think she's vegan, not a chef, but she does some recipes on her
Okay.
stories
I'm
as
gonna
well.
pop in the front and look at
Yeah,
some of the comments. I'm listening.
yeah.
Hi. Yes, more
So yeah,
plants.
yeah, yeah.
No.
Talk about that. Just how you kind of were able to incorporate that from a traditional diet to being more plant based, and how can people kind of do that in their day to day lives?
Um, One of the easiest way. Okay, I'm back. One of
Herbivore,
the
herbivore. That's good.
everywhere, right? One of the easiest starting points for the plant-based diet is snacks.
Okay.
They're a little bit. It's not a meal. You know what I mean? So it depends on what your relationship is. I always tell people really, also reach out to family members and friends that are, on the more quote unquote healthier side and talk to them because when you talk to them, they kind of already know what you like and what you don't because they know you. And so they can kind of point you into the direction. That's how I kind of do with people, like with my family. Like if it's
Yeah.
something that, like one of my best friends, like I can call her and I'm like, yo, the new bean fields chips. Yep, do it, do it. And she's all the way in Ohio and she's like, yes. I'm like, this is it. I'm like, this is it. Or someone else like, what is this? I'm like, don't touch that. Don't touch that. Don't touch. You don't like texture like that. Nope, don't do it. So, find someone that and then, also just stick with snacks because it's not as big of a commitment as a
Yeah.
meal is,
Right.
so you can kind of just, oh, okay, this is cool. And, because a lot of stuff is different, textures and flavors. So you want to add something
Right.
like that.
Ray, yes, she is for sure. And I think, it's interesting now because a lot of it is just Americanized, right? It's more business focused. Like you said, it's moving away from processed foods. I got a chance to, and Ray and I have this in common. I got a chance to live up in the Emerald Triangle up in Mendocino and just kind of be more around an organic community of people that not only grew cannabis, but also grew their own food. And just seeing that, and it really does taste better. And you really do feel better. And it's just heartbreaking to think that there really is such a thing as food deserts. One of my heroes, um, what's his name? Finley. He gave a TED talk. He's from LA and he talked about, he's the
Oh,
gangster
Ron.
gardener. Yeah, Ron Finley. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh
Ron
my
Finley.
God, that's so
Yeah.
funny. That's so
I,
funny. Yeah, that's one of my homies. He's the best.
I
He's
saw
the
that
best.
TED talk, whatever, how many, ever many years ago. It actually led me to start a community garden in the
Grow
town that
some
I grew
shit.
up in. You
That's
grow
his
some
quote.
shit. Yeah,
That's his
exactly.
quote.
And what I love about him is that he said, like, don't try to call me or email me. You want to see me, come see me in the car. Like, I'm working, and I just love that mentality. Where I'm at now is a little more country, so it's a little more remote, but I definitely want to, do more community gardens and things like that. But I think it's interesting now because the, meatless industry, on one hand, it's exciting, right? That being plant-based is gaining popularity for various reasons. But at the same time, some of these alternatives are worse than the original, right? Because they have so many, preservatives and so many chemicals and all these different things. And so just because it doesn't necessarily have animal product doesn't necessarily mean that it's healthy, right? Hey, Lily. So just talk about, and I
True.
think the other thing is too, people are always trying to imitate and replace meat. Well, it's like, instead of celebrating vegetables and fruit, right? So I don't know, speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, it's tough, because so much in so much with food in the food business is the marketing of it. It's
Right,
all about what the front of the package looks like, and that really fulfills people's like quick needs, and no one really looks at the back. it's,
right,
it's kind of a bait and switch in a way where it's just like, oh wow, okay, getting rid of meat is the problem, so it leads people to believe that whatever the alternative to that is 100% okay, and it's like,
right,
no,
right,
there's a catch with that too.
right,
Sorry.
right.
And I mean, it kind of stems back to us just, you know, trusting the powers that be and the different, entities that control our systems. And, you still have to do your own research and kind of come to your own conclusions. So,
Right,
with
right.
that said, a lot of the plant-based foods are, yeah, oh no, there's a fly in here. Um, yeah, it's a nice day. We have the windows open. Um, the thing about it is that it's processed food, and
Yeah,
any food that's processed, like you're eliminating, you're widening the step between how it was grown and what it becomes, and the more
right.
hands and more steps, the more agendas and just like
More
fillers and
packaging
cheaper
and
stuff,
traffic. Yeah,
more packaging, just
yeah.
more of all of that stuff. And processed foods is really not the answer. Really, the bigger thing is just whole foods. These veggie burgers, they're tasty. I've been to Jack in the Box and all the places, and I got those things. And every once in a while, I'll have them for like I'll have them for holidays or different things like that. But
Yeah.
that stuff is not something that you really want to keep in the house.
So what's your advice to people that want to, you know, be less processed, be more plant-based, but maybe they don't have a ton of money to spend, or maybe they live in in a city like New York or LA or San Francisco where there's not farms nearby. What would you recommend to people that do want to transition to a healthier lifestyle, but maybe are on a budget?
Yeah, I mean, when you look right now in the grocery stores and you see what's missing, that's telling you like exactly how people operate. And the beans are gone. Start with the beans. That's a vegetable, and like that's obviously a staple product. That's obviously, something that people already consider filling. So really
Yeah.
start with beans. You can do burgers with beans, literally be the Bubba Gump of beans, bean meatballs, bean. No, you can make desserts out of beans. There's like bean pudding. I mean, bosoms and bean
Yeah,
pies. I grew
yeah,
up on the south side of
yeah,
Chicago. The
yeah,
Nation of Islam sold bean pies. Like
yep,
there's
yep, yep,
bean paste from China. You can do anything with beans. So
yep.
really start there, because that's something that already, really, really exists and people already like are okay with. And then you move on to things like jackfruit. Jackfruit is something where it's just like, I had to really learn that. That wasn't something that I was building upon, that I observed when I was younger. This was like, wow, what the fuck is this? It's
Yeah.
like 50 million pounds. Like I need a machete to cut it, or
I
like
can't
give it
think of
time.
her name off the top of my head, but I do follow. It's funny because I am not vegan, but I like follow a bunch of really cool, plant-based people. And one of them is, do you remember the movie Friday?
Oh my God, yeah, she's the
Yeah, the
homie.
the
Yeah, I
girl
love her
Felicia,
stuff.
like the
Uh-huh.
phrase "Bye Felicia," whatever. She actually
Yeah,
started
Jackfruit
opening a
Cafe.
restaurant, Jackfruit Cafe. That's what it's called. That's right.
Yeah, that's the
So
homie.
yeah, so I love what they're doing, and eventually, part of why I'm working so hard in business is to have the resources to do things like that. Not necessarily a good business idea, uh, restaurants always, but to do something for the community where we're not necessarily worried about the profit, more just like getting good food to people in the community that maybe don't have access to it. And I know that's what she's doing in LA. So definitely, man, we got to throw an event when all this is over. We got to throw an event with all these cool people that you know.
Well, that was already in the works. We were
Yeah,
already
for
in the
sure.
works for that. So and then that's the coolest thing. It's like it's this now kind of like how the Bible is, where it's just like
Yeah.
BC and AD. It's like now
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
before COVID and
Post,
after
yeah,
COVID.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Well,
BC and AC.
you guys have LA covered, but whenever you're ready to come to the Bay Area, I think we have some people that would love to have you guys up here. So talk about the school and how the school kind of evolved, and then I would love to, hear more about some of your recipes and what you're even doing with jackfruit right now at your house. But talk about how the idea for the school came up.
So that kind of came about because we just didn't know. I realized that nobody really knew what to do with this stuff. Like you couldn't really ask your grandmother or your elders, like, well, what about jackfruit? Unless you grew up in a place,
Right.
Southeast Asia where it's really grown and it's a part of the culture. So, I started to teach people at the holistic center that was in the neighborhood where I was living in Mexico. And then from there, I just saw something and I was like, okay, well, in order for this, my kind of American mind clicked in and I was like, we got to scale this. How
Yeah.
are we going to scale this?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I said, well, in order to do that, I was like, okay, well, I have to go back to the States because this is a completely different industry that I wasn't in when I left. And so I had to start from scratch. So that kind of came about and I started doing, just a lot of different events, a lot of B2B stuff.
Okay.
We do really well with that because, companies now more than ever really want their employees to be in tip top shape. So
Hmm.
we're really excited about getting the kits to a lot of different companies that they can send home to their employees, to keep them feeling good and, morale and stuff like that. So it's been an evolution, definitely from just me watching, different people in the class and figuring out what the pain points are and how
Yeah.
we even learn this stuff,
Yeah.
and being able to, now be in this product world and executing on that. It's cool.
So my day job is real estate and insurance agent, and there's actually companies now that will give you a better rate if they know that you're
Yeah.
plant-based, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Let's talk about
because,
that.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The number one, cause of illness is stress, and the number one
Yep.
cause of stress is usually money or diet, right? Or sleep, or diet is kind of all encompassing, right? It's not just food; it's kind of what you drink, what you eat, how you sleep, or exercise. And anyway, we all come with different baggage and different issues based on how we grew up or where we grew up. And but there does come a point as an adult where I do believe you are responsible for your health and your finances. And for me, it didn't really take care of myself in my 20s and early 30s, and I paid the price for it. And I knew what I was doing, but I still did it. Too much drinking, eating terrible, not sleeping, and recently decided, to start to make some of those changes. And I feel so much better, and I know that I'm just getting started. It's hard though, kind of to forgive yourself when you realize, man, if I would have started, it's the same thing financially. If I would have started saving at 20, I'd be so much further along. Well, the point is, as long as you start somewhere, as long as you start, right? And because I would feel the same way about the gym or about diet, and just talk about like the healing and compound effects of changing up your diet for the better.
Totally. 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 Yeah. It's something you have to meet yourself where you're at, and that's the first thing. Everything takes like an incremental time. That's why I just try to like keep learning and keep doing things and keep being a beginner at stuff because it helps to just keep a mindset of empathy about everything and everyone around you, because everyone's at a different stage of learning. I've been running since last year, and now I'm learning from friends of mine who've been running for years, like, okay, why does my back feel this way? Or should I eat this? Or,
Mm,
should I do that? And it's the same thing with food. It's just like, you can't be hard on yourself. You can't be
yeah.
hard on yourself at all. So
You know,
yeah.
somebody that I follow that I really appreciate is Rich Roll. Do you know Rich Roll?
Oh yeah, of course. He's
Yeah,
great.
he's a beast, and I think he made the change like after 50. I think he was like an attorney and was just like, typical American diet. I think he had a
Yeah.
heart attack in his late 40s or early 50s, and then turned it around, became plant-based. And I was like an ultra marathoner. He's like almost 60, and he's like can run circles around 20 something year olds. So like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's an
Yeah.
amazing story. So what are some for the person maybe that doesn't like vegetables, or maybe it's just traditional American diet of processed food. Obviously, we've all been forced to eat at home this last month, and I think you could still eat terrible even if you're eating at home, right? So, what are some recommendations you have for people that are trying to maybe eat healthier while they're at home, or some ideas for maybe if they're cooking at home for the first time in a long time?
Yeah, I would say you could start with stir fries. That's one of the easiest things that you can do because when it comes to stir fries, when you think about it, most countries have some type of version of some type of stir fry or some type
Right,
of something. And
right,
it doesn't really equal up to really anything specific with the recipe. It's kind of what you have on hand,
right.
So whatever you have on hand, chop it up really good, and then you just add a sauce and you just saute it. And obviously when you're sauteing, you want to make sure that you don't cook it all the way down till it's super soft, because the more you cook something, obviously you're losing nutrition.
Mm,
But on the flip side, there are some fruits and vegetables that if you do cook them, they're going to release a different nutrient. Like for example, tomatoes. Like tomatoes, you're going to get your vitamin C, but if you cook it, it'll lose the vitamin C, but then you're going to get more of the lycopene. So, I mean, it's
okay,
not to put someone out as like a scientist per se, but it's more of a thing where, again, don't put so much pressure on yourself to think that you need to be doing something perfect,
right.
and just really just cut down all of the sugars, the salt, the fat and all the heavy processed foods, and then just start from there. So I actually posted something a little bit earlier on my stories. It's a simple stir fry, and it was whatever I had on hand. It was cabbage, it was broccoli, it's a little bit of garlic. Pick like a garlic or onion or both. Something to really bring the flavors together, and then
The
just
Holy
put the
Trinity,
sauce.
right? Yeah.
Right, you need that holy trinity of something,
Garlic
but as
butter
long
or garlic oil and onion. Yeah.
yeah, as long as you have either garlic or onion, like whatever it is that you stir fry, it's going to at least have some type of like, tasty flavor
And
along
the
with
house
it.
is going to smell amazing.
Yeah, and exactly, and the house is gonna smell amazing. I would suggest everyone pick up a bottle of this, and you can pretty much find it at any grocery store now. In fact, you can find it in Trader Joe's.
Nice.
And my thing is, if it's in Trader Joe's, that's a specific place. That means, it definitely has hit, the mainstream, so to speak.
For
But
sure.
it's a bottle of coconut aminos. So coconut aminos are great because it is a soy and MSG version of soy-free and MSG version of soy sauce. So it's just going to give you that kind of umami, tasty, savory flavor. That'll be really good, kind of that salty, sweet kind of flavor
Hmm.
for your vegetables, but it doesn't contain like so much of that in there. So
Okay.
with this, for example, it's organic coconut sap, water, and sea salt. You're right. It's like really nothing to it, but you just put that on some vegetables and stir fry it, or you just chop up some greens and put it over there. You can do a
Yeah.
vinaigrette with this. There's so many
Okay.
different things. You can marinate it with it. So
Oh,
coconut
nice.
aminos, everyone please ride the wave of coconut aminos.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out.
So good.
So, what
Yeah,
would be like? What's a day of eating normally for you, and then what's a day of eating during quarantine?
it's the same thing, generally speaking.
Nice.
It's
Okay.
it's pretty much the same thing. I'm actually, so, pre-quarantine, like we did a lot of events, obviously. So I would cook for like one big group of people at one time. But through the course of the quarantine, I've been cooking for a handful of people, which is a little bit different. So that's throughout the week. So I would say that's the only thing that's changed, is that like I have a more structured time to like cook during the week. Before
Okay.
it was one big thing, and then for the rest of the week I was just kind of working on recipe development or whatever. So it's because I am a chef, it doesn't really change anything because I
Okay.
still have to cook, I still have to shoot stuff, I still have to do
And
things
where
like
do you
that.
get the majority of your ingredients on a weekly basis?
Um, it's been kind of different every week, so to speak. I would say that this coming week or the past couple days has been like the first to where like I've actually had a bit of structure to it. Each grocery store, I go in a lot of different grocery stores. Fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know. It's a part
Yeah.
of my job, but they just don't have like certain things, you know.
Right.
And like I said, this wasn't the way that I was cooking before quarantine, so I had to kind of find a learning curve exactly like what I needed and how much in that amount of time. Because on
Right.
top of that, then this is also like recipe development, because some of the people that I'm cooking for, like, they're my friends and they know me and they already love my food. So I'm just like,
I think
you know,
everybody on this IG Live right now would be down to be like a test person.
yeah,
If you ever
I'm
need
just like,
like a
I'm gonna
test
make some.
kitchen.
Yeah, I totally have fun with everybody because I mean, right now they can't really hold me to anything anyway, because I can walk on the store and I can say like, hey, we're gonna have barbecue lentils this week. They're like, yeah, and then there's no fucking lentils. So
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
kind of play around with it. So, there's trust with that, and within that, I'm doing recipe development and shooting stuff and creating content. So yeah,
Yeah, you've been killing it. You've been killing
it's
it.
a little bit different. Yeah.
So, friend Diana, she's in Texas. She asked, "What do you recommend for quick, easy, tasty snacks and late night snacks?"
Okay, so late night snacks, I'm not a big proponent of it. I tried to practice intermittent fasting, which is basically like you want that window of time, a good window of time to where like your
Yeah.
digestive system is just chilling, and then that really helps to build immunity and just fight off different things because your body's not working to process food.
Yeah.
But to answer the original question, snacks I really like right now, there's a company called Hail Mary that really does good cakes, little chocolate cakes. I'm trying to think of just like national brands that are really good. Miyoko's for cheese. So the best plant-based cheese right now is Miyoko's. It's really great, like all of them.
The yogurt company?
Miyoko's,
Oh,
it's just
that's
cheese.
Oikos. That's Oikos.
Just
Miyoko.
Oikos,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Miyoko's is just the cheese. All right. So Miyoko's cheese is really good. Also
I think that's
Kaichou
the
is
hard.
really good.
That's probably the hardest thing. Like, I mean, I think meat for a lot of people would be easier to give up. It's things like cheese or
Yeah,
sushi.
yeah, yeah. And cheese,
You
believe me,
know,
this company is so like, I mean, I'm gonna make a mac and
those
cheese.
vegan cheeses are freaking expensive, but yeah, I hear they're good. I gotta try some more.
Cheese is expensive though. Cheese is
In
expensive in
general, yeah,
general.
in general, yeah, you're right.
But I hate to be the the sad person with the bad news. Daiya ice cream is great. Their yogurt is okay, but their cheese, I am so sorry. I am team Miyoko so much, and team,
Okay.
yeah, because the thing about it is just like when people are transitioning to plant-based or just trying something new, they already have that bias up to where like if
Right.
anything goes wrong, I told you I couldn't like this anymore. I told you I can't do this. So I
Right.
really, really, really try to like head that off at the pass. And like the biggest thing is cheese, and that's the biggest disappointment in the entire
Yeah.
plant-based diet. The biggest disappointment, okay, is literally cheese and anything gluten-free that like crumbles up in your mouth like, oh,
Yeah,
oh my god, oh my god,
yeah.
oh my god.
Yeah,
I try to save y'all, I just really try
I
to.
know. I know. But it was tough growing up. My grandmother was like deathly lactose intolerant, and I guess we were a little bit too. I think everybody is to an extent, right? But my mom was swore that we were super lactose intolerant, so she made us wouldn't let us have milk. Well, as a kid in the 90s, like I mean, cereal is life, right? And they did not have good milk alternatives like they do now. Like, I think the milk alternatives are better than milk now, like almond milk, coconut milk,
Oh,
oat
for
milk.
sure, for
It's a
sure,
whole
for
new
sure.
industry. But in the 90s, I mean, we literally would use like water sometimes or like, coffee creamer, like non dairy creamer. Shit was nasty. Or rice milk, but it was not good. I was kind of traumatized as a kid. Like, I would like sneak bowls of cereal like at a friend's house, like it was drugs, just like on the
Because
low.
of no milk, because she
Because
wasn't going for the milk.
yeah, yeah, I was kind of traumatized
Yeah.
by that.
Well, I didn't realize I liked oatmeal until I was like almost 30 because my mother didn't like oatmeal, so we just didn't get it because she didn't like it.
Right, right.
I like called her. I was like, "Excuse me." I was like, "What the fuck, mom?"
Yeah.
Like, what? I was like, "I love ootmeal." Like, what? She's like, "Oh, I don't like it in my mouth." I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
gosh,
It's
so
funny how,
mad."
yeah, it's funny how people, I'm not very picky because we kind of grew up like you eat whatever's on your plate, and then also I'm kind of adventurous. So I'm like pretty much down to try whatever. I've traveled a lot, but there's just a couple things that were harder. Like I'm just now coming around to olives, and it's funny because like I have a Spanish background, and like I should be loving olives, and they're just too much for me. And then the worst, I think the biggest bait and switch in nature is beets. They look so amazing, but they're so they're. I know they're so good for you, but they're just tough. I guess maybe I haven't had them the right way, but
You
the
have
beets
not had them the right way. Do
beets
this.
do not taste like they look. You know what I mean? If that
I
makes
got
sense.
something for you.
Okay.
Literally, be it if you steam, peel them, because
Okay.
like peel them, even though the power's in the peel, we want to just baby step you into it. So peel the beets, steam them, slice them or cube them, put them over some spinach, and then get this Miyoko's cheese that I'm telling you about
Okay. Okay.
because the Miyoko's cheese is kind of like goat cheese, and it
Okay.
literally gives you that vibe of if you've ever had just like a goat cheese and spinach salad in like a
Yeah. Yeah.
restaurant.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
throw the beets in there, like that's I used to have that in New York all the time. Like that's so classic and it really works with that. Another good thing with beets is I do a beet cooler. Again, you
Okay.
take the beets, don't cook them. If you've got a really good high powered blender,
Yeah.
blend it up and then strain it. And then from there, add a little bit of sweetener. It's like Kool-Aid and it's really good
Okay.
in electrolytes and all of those things as
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I know
it's,
they're super good
yeah,
for you. They're just it's
yeah.
just harsh taste, but
Yeah.
I'm down
Sweeten
to
it
try
and
it.
add lime. It's kind of
Okay.
like
Okay.
it's like a, not a
Like a
licuado.
rhubarb or
No, what do you say in Spanish? Like it's a certain thing where it's like we do like a just like a agua de fruta. Like
oh
you just
chile. Yeah.
blend it up
Yeah.
and strain it, just blend up and strain it, add a little
Yeah.
bit. They
Yeah.
add like crazy sugar in it, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. What are some I just ideas or recipes that you're working on right now, or how can people get like what comes in a kit? Like if someone ordered a kit like today, what would they get?
You will get, I know like I'm running back. Okay. I know it's like Home Shopping Network. So hey guys, how you doing? So this is the
Yeah.
superfood kit,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
can
yeah.
make this wonderful curry goat in here right now. So the kit's really cool. It comes to you like this,
Okay.
and inside you've got an intro card because it's a ton of information online with your shopping list and all of your login information and your meal plans. And you've got a cool quiz to take to find out kind of which meal plan you should use, but you'll get all the meal
Awesome.
plans. All
Awesome.
right. So you get all of these cards to kind of just something that you can kind of hold on to. This digital world, we still need some tangible stuff. All
Right.
right. And each card coordinates with one of the spices and superfoods in the kit. So this season, we've got tomato powder, which is something you really can't find unless you're in a gourmet or restaurant supply store, but which is really, really, really great to add that boosting tomato flavor. Then we've got a proprietary blend, which is umami, which I blend, which is really great on potatoes and everything. We've got curry, we've got acai for all of those who've had acai bowls but never have made them.
That's
We've
dope.
got smoked paprika that gives you that really good barbecue taste. That's that meaty thing. It'll trick your taste buds into thinking you've got like baby back ribs, but it's just like asparagus. It's great. And you've got moringa, which is great. You can use moringa in everything from smoothies to pesto, so you can really boost everything with
Oh,
that.
nice,
So
nice.
what's cool about all of these is that even though there's 6 packets, there's 2 to 10 servings in each of these. So you might want to use half the packet for pesto and then the rest of the moringa for maybe 3 or 4 smoothies. You can do a lot of different things with it. And really, these spices and superfoods are pretty easy to find. We'll send you information about where you can find them
Okay.
in bigger sizes. This is really just to get you started because a lot of times you go in the grocery store and you see all of these like big bags of things you can't even pronounce. It's really
Right,
expensive. You don't even know what to do with it. So you
right,
start here and really with the meal plans. Our meal plans are whole food, plant-based, gluten-free, no refined sugars. Literally, it's the healthiest stuff in the healthiest way, but really, really, really making it taste good. Like that's the most important thing, and it really starts with this. So it's
that's
really
awesome.
cool.
So
Really,
if
really cool.
someone can join right now, they can join Superfood School
Yep,
remotely, and they're going
yep,
to get a packet. They're going to get an online profile and get to connect with you directly.
yep, yep. We ship
Awesome.
these out, ship them out to you, and you get your information immediately, and then you get started, and you can kind of post these around. And it comes with a card, which is really cool because we
Nice.
want you guys to make your own recipes. So you get a little recipe card to kind of get inspired by that as well. So yeah, it's fun.
What are some testimonials or some client stories you can tell us from some of the work you've done?
Um, I would say that WeWork was really great. We did some corporate stuff with them and just helping, their team members really utilize their kitchen because all WeWorks have amazing kitchens if you've ever been in one. So that was a lot of fun.
Unfortunately,
Um,
that they're hurting right now, unfortunately, but hopefully they can
they've
make a
been hurting
comeback.
though. They've
Yeah,
been
they've been
hurting though.
hurting.
They've been hurting. They've been hurting.
This
They've
is
been
probably the
hurting.
nail in the coffin, but I love the idea of co-working spaces,
Yes.
especially when you travel. Americans are
Yeah.
not as, yeah, it might not work in this market as well, but in Thailand and Mexico, they thrive. But
Yeah, exactly,
yeah,
exactly, 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 exactly. So yeah, that was really good. Mac Cosmetics was great because they weren't really even in kind of like the plant-based mode. But again, all these companies have corporate kitchens, and so really they obviously want it to be utilized. And if it's being utilized in a
yeah.
really healthy manner, it's a win-win for everybody.
For sure. No, I love the work that you do, and I look forward
Thank you.
to being able to connect in person and also on a corporate level because I definitely have a lot of companies and organizations that would be interested in working with you. And I know you're going to be creating a bunch of content. You guys still using that kitchen where you were going to be filming the show? Is that still going down?
No, we're here.
You're doing it at home for now? Okay, cool. So last couple things. I know we got a few more minutes left, but what are your thoughts? What are you facing right now with everything that's going on? And then what are some of your kind of goals and hope coming out of this and for the people watching?
Really, it's just staying the course. Um, I'd gone through a lot. I think a lot of the transition and kind of weirdness that a lot of people are going through, I actually went through late last year.
Yeah,
I
me
had like
too.
I had a lot of issues that I really had to work through. So ever since then, it's been about just kind of staying the course on what I've already been doing, and then just, I mean, slight pivots. Like I said, I usually
Yeah,
am not making food for people like through the week, on a non-event
right.
basis, but it's a pivot, and it's what's going on right now. So
Yeah, I
it's
agree. I
pretty
think
interesting.
we're definitely obviously in a health crisis,
Yeah,
which is also leading to a financial crisis.
absolutely.
Those are very real situations that we definitely have to consider. At the same time, I got my start as an entrepreneur during the last financial crisis, similar to what you said, like 2007,
Okay,
2008,
okay, okay.
and didn't really have a plan, just kind of stumbled along and ended up having an amazing career in the event and music, entertainment space, which was awesome. And I'm very grateful for those experiences. But knowing what I know now, I would have handled that differently. Well, here we are. Now I have the opportunity and the relationships to, for a couple things. One, be strategic business wise, but also like on a soul level, know that like none of that shit matters. You could lose all of it
Right,
tomorrow.
right,
So you might as
right.
well go hard in the paint on what you really love and believe in. And if you have the opportunity to combine what you love and believe in with business and make that your occupation, then you're really winning. Whether you're making a lot of money or not, as long as you can
Yeah,
take care of yourself and your family and love what you do and help people, I mean, it's a win-win. And
yeah, for
I just
sure.
hope that people take this time. Now, obviously, there's people on the front lines, and we thank them. The people that are in hospitals, people that are driving truck, people that are delivering packages, or at the grocery store, or anybody in between. We're so grateful for those folks. But a good majority of us are at home, right? Maybe for the first time with our families online.
Yeah,
Now is a better time than ever to study, to learn a new skill, to start to cook if you never cooked, I mean, literally everything you could ever want to know is on social media. I mean, just Ask the
Yeah, this isn't
universe.
like the Spanish flu of 1918 or 13 or whatever it is. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like we've actually are pretty well equipped to entertain ourselves during this time
for
for
sure. So I
sure.
think this is a chance. There's going to be people that are just going to sit on the couch and let this moment pass by, and then there's going to be people like yourself, like you said, stay the course. And I can
Yeah,
relate. I've had a tough couple of years myself, so the last couple of weeks have not really been that hard for me because I
yeah,
was like kind of already in isolation. I was already in like self quarantine and already going through some stuff, and so now I'm really ready to get back in the game.
yeah,
Like, okay, I've
yeah,
been waiting long enough. So, but
yeah.
you know, just talk about how some of the things that you're excited about from a business and personal social perspective of like capitalizing on this moment again with respect to the seriousness of it, but also seeing the opportunity to help people and to emerge to the next level of yourself coming out of this.
That's the answer to the question. That's the answer
That's
to the question, and
perfect.
that's been the course, from the beginning. And all I can say is that,
Okay.
if the trick, no matter what's happening in life, is like if you are aligned with yourself, then it'll seem like the world is just kind of moving in the direction that you need, because it it doesn't matter. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter, like rain, sleet, or snow. Like there's opportunities that are happening now with me during the quarantine that I've been thinking on and wanting to manifest. And I'm like, wow,
Same.
it seems as
Same.
if like if it wasn't for the quarantine, this wouldn't
Yeah.
happen. But it's not. It's just because
Yeah.
when you set out, really to do something, and you really, visualize it and really, work on manifesting it, it
Yeah. For
it just
sure.
it's like surfing. It just literally just you're on the wave
Yeah. For sure.
and
Well,
it's a barrel.
there's a saying that says that fear sharpens listening, and I mean it's literally it
What's it
happens, right?
called?
Fear sharpens listening,
Damn,
meaning
that's good. I
like
gotta write that down.
when
Wow.
we're animals at the end of the day, right? And
Yes.
whenever animals are scared, they kind of perk up, and there's a different type of tension, and a lot of people are in that mode right now of
Survival mode,
uncertainty
right?
and insecurity. And so people, like ourselves that maybe have been through some things, that maybe have a little bit of a clearer vision and path, are going to be able to emerge as leaders, thought leaders, and also business leaders, and say, hey guys, like follow me. Like I've been through some things, I've survived some things. Like let's try this. Let's eat healthier. Let's maybe start a business. Let's maybe support each other more. Maybe we shouldn't be as negative toward each other as we were before. Like what's unique about this pandemic is that it's a pandemic, and that that literally means that it pans the whole world, right? And so
I
never
never thought about it
before,
that way, but yeah, for
that's
sure.
what the definition of a pandemic is, that it's affecting like the globe. And so never have we had these kind of global restrictions and global repercussions of an event like this. Usually it's a war or it's a natural disaster, and we send our thoughts and prayers over there, but everybody is facing the same thing. So I hope
Yeah,
from this there comes more of a sense of unity and a lack of judgment, and a
yeah,
big
for
part of
sure.
that is through food. And I love what you're doing to bring people together through food and to make people healthier through food. So where can people find your stuff and support you with the Superfood School?
They can go to superfoodschool.com, or they could go to our Instagram, which is Superfood School. You can find me on Instagram, Chef Lynette, and yeah, that's about it right now.
Awesome.
I
So
wish we had a
everybody,
Pinterest, but we don't.
I
That's
know
a whole nother skill
it's a
set. I'm
full-time
sorry, I can't.
job. It's like,
It's
it's
a
crazy.
full time
It's a
job.
full-time job.
We're
So
working
every,
on it. We get a
yeah,
Pinterest person.
for sure. One of the things that I've always wanted to do is have a podcast and a vlog. I've worked it behind the
Yeah.
scenes in media for years, but I just never, for whatever reason, had the courage or the resources to do it the way that I wanted to. And even this is not exactly how I would like it to be, but it's a start, and the momentum and the response. It's been crazy. Like you said, I think because of I was ready, and then when this opportunity came, I said, why not now? And the response has been amazing. But one thing I've asked everyone is that, are you down for a future podcast, like in studio with better quality gear, and then also maybe like a day in the life vlog or something like that?
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
awesome. Well,
I'm down.
I so appreciate your time and everything that you
Yeah,
said, and I'm
thank you.
excited for everybody that watched to get to check out your stuff. So check out superfoodschool.com, guys. Check out Chef Lynette here on Instagram, and she's hilarious and very inspirational, and
Thank
also
you.
shares a lot of really, really cool recipes. I'm going to check some of those recipes out myself, as I'm definitely on a path to being healthy. It's my birthday in 2 months, so I'm trying to get healthy
Okay, well,
moving
get on the
forward. So
site. take the quiz, and then you'll
Yeah.
get a couple of our recipe books to get you started.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your
You're
time.
welcome.
We'll be in
Okay,
touch. All right.
no
Take
problem.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.